took a trip to Allegiant Stadium, not because of the Raiders game. Raiders are on the road, and we'll get to that in a couple minutes. But I went to catch the UNLV football game.
Can I go to the stadium at some point, Brian? Is that okay with you?
You're going to have to ask UNLV.
Oh, okay.
I'll ask
All
I'll ask for 2 credentials.
All right.
You can email them.
I'd like to go to a game. I'd like to at least see the stadium.
You need to email UNLV, or I can do that for you. But they only gave me 1 credential over the weekend because of the coronavirus pandemic. So I went to UNLV. They played Nevada, the fight for the cannon. And they said they were allowing 2,000 fans into the stadium. Folks, I got to tell you, it sounded like 200. Here's the most awkward part of this game. You know, Chet Buchanan, who does a good morning show on a competing station, who always F's with me all the time. Every time I see him, he's always making snide remarks, trying to get under my skin. But Chet's a good guy. You know, he takes the microphone for UNLV basketball and football. Crowd, get on your feet. He tries to rev up the crowd. Do you know how awkward it is for him to do that from a microphone, which he did over the weekend, and there's like no crowd noise at all? There's nobody standing up. It looked like 200 people were there. So Chet said this to me, and by the way, I agree with him, that UNLV probably did a disservice to themselves by letting any fans in. It should be either no fans or minimum 10,000 fans. That's my personal opinion. And by the way, they should have 10,000 fans in the stadium so long as there's social distancing.
I mean, do you think they could get 10,000 fans, honestly?
Yes.
I think
absolutely.
I think just to see the stadium once, they could probably do it.
It was also the game against Nevada. But, you know, let's get to the game here real quick. The same issue with UNLV football now that they've had for decades. They don't have a capable quarterback. Their offense is pitiful. They're getting beaten physically on the defensive side. And listen, I understand for Coach Arroyo, but he's never been a head coach before, but I understand you got to give him time. This is a weird season. I understand all that. Not calling for the coach's head after week 2. I'm not going to do that. That would be stupid. But then I see some of these articles that are written, and I hate to call people out for it, but it's the people that are drinking the UNLV Kool-Aid that can't write an honest article. And I'm talking about Ray Brewer from the Las Vegas Sun. He writes an article about the game, and it's all positive. He did this, you know, before they fired Marvin Menzies. He was saying that Menzies needed to stay another 2 years. He did the same thing with Sanchez. Every single year, it's the same thing with some of these journalists. They drink the UNLV Kool-Aid, and they're not critical of the UNLV program in any way, shape, or form. Things are going to be much better for UNLV. Ray Brewer said the same thing year 1 when they hired Tony Sanchez. Ray Brewer said the same thing year 1 when they hired Bobby Houck. The point I'm trying to make is these people have zero credibility when it comes to writing articles on UNLV. Every time they hire a new coach, year 1, it's the same thing. When they hired Dave Rice, Ray Brewer couldn't have been the biggest cheerleader for Dave Rice. How did that work out? The last year of Marvin Menzies, even several months before they fired Marvin Menzies, Ray Brewer was saying what a wonderful job Marvin Menzies was doing and that they should they should keep him for another couple years. These guys are wrong every single year with every single coach. They're wrong. And it's a joke. UNLV got embarrassed by Nevada. And Nevada is not a great football team they're not. They got a pretty good quarterback. They're not great defensively. They barely beat Wyoming in week 1. And Nevada destroyed UNLV, and UNLV was never really in the game. And let me talk about the play calling in the second half. It was pathetic. It was pathetic. There was a point in the game where they were down 2 scores with the ball in the fourth quarter, and they had no sense of urgency, no hurry-up offense. That looked like a team that was not prepared. And again, I know, Coach Arroyo, it's year number 1. Let's give him some time. I get that. But for people like Ray Brewer to write articles about the football program, about how the future looks so bright, what are you talking about? What has happened in the UNLV program in the last 2 decades that would lead you to believe that there's a bright future for football? Listen, I hope I'm wrong, but sadly, every single time I'm right when I talk about UNLV football. I hope Coach Arroyo works out, but boy, they certainly don't have the players to compete in the Mountain West this year. They just don't. So we'll continue to cover UNLV football, but God, some of these articles that some of these Kool-Aid drinkers write about UNLV football and basketball, these guys have no credibility. They're wrong. Every single new coach comes around, they're wrong. It's unbelievable. Every coach, the future's bright. Why can't they ever write an article and say, I'm not impressed with what Coach Arroyo has done so far, or I'm not impressed with what Dave Rice has done in 3 years, or Marvin Menzies? They won't do that. Because there's just zero credibility with some, not all, some journalists in this town. But I'll tell you something, I'm happy about the Raiders and what they were able to do in really tough weather conditions. I think Ken Thompson was wrong. He said, I like the over. I don't think the over came in that game. He came on our show on Friday, and Ken Thompson said, I love the over. And then I text Ken the first like half an hour of the game where the score was like 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. I'm like, Ken, your over's not looking too good. And then he sends me a text message back that says, oh, well, I changed my mind because the weather changed. I'm like, okay. But I'm just saying on Friday.
I can confirm that. Ken's picks are on againsnumber.com, and that was not one of his picks.
Well, he said on the air that he liked the over.
I know. Yeah. Well, he can change his mind. Yeah. He did go 5-0 in college football, though.
Well, that's good. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised he did. I'm just saying he liked the over in the Raiders game. That wasn't a good play.
He was definitely wrong.
But Raiders did a nice job in taking care of business. Cleveland's not a very good football team. But as I've said before, the Raiders are an average team. They're going to beat bad teams. Cleveland's a bad team. They're going to beat bad teams. They're going to lose to good teams. But they did what they needed to do to win. So, I mean, they stayed on the field.
By the way, Nevada is now in the top 25. Do you know that?
In the country?
Yeah, in college football.
Listen, I watched them.
Yeah,
JD,
top 25.
Okay, we're talking about Raiders, but going back to Nevada real quickly, I watched them. They don't look like a top 25 team to me. That's all I'm going to say. They have a very good quarterback and a potent offense. Their defense is not very good. They barely just beat Wyoming in week 1. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think Nevada is as good as average. I just don't think they're a top 25 team. But hey, we'll see. I'm just telling you, UNLV's offense is pathetic. They have a pathetic offense. They just don't have quality guys. The problem with UNLV for decades, and we're going back to UNLV now, but the problem.
Well, you said that Nevada's. I mean, they're top 25.
I don't think they're a top 25 team.
Who's the last Mountain West team to be in the top 25? San Diego State.
Well,
probably,
Boise
right?
State.
Oh, Boise. Okay, that's right.
But the only really good team that UNLV is playing all year is Boise State. I look at their schedule; they're not playing anybody else. But